Hey, thanks for joining us here at Hanging Out with K Dubs podcast. Tell us how we're doing, or maybe be in a future podcast episode. Hit us up at hangingoutwithkdubs at gmail.com. Up next, the latest episode. Thanks for listening. On fire.
Cool.
Jack,
Howdy.
thanks for coming.
Yeah, so it's kind of a last minute thing.
It is. Well, I had a guy that was supposed to come and, of course, canceled out on me. So I was
that'll
like,
happen.
whatever, it happens,
Yeah.
you know. So I sent out the texts like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Hey, what are you doing tonight?
Right.
And then Kenna sent me something, I don't know, 2-3 days ago.
Yeah, she's been bugging me about it, and I was like, all right, we'll see what we can figure out. But then she texted me today and said that you had to cancel, and I was like, oh, here we go.
She texted me a little while back and she's like, I think you should get Jack. And I'm like, hey, that'd be a good one. I haven't
Right.
seen you for a while.
Yeah, no, since the old game nights,
Yeah.
we haven't had one of those in a
We'll
hot
probably
minute.
have to change that, I think, in the future.
Yeah,
But anyway, so I was like, yeah. So I just sent her a message like, hey, had a cancellation, so see if he's available.
yep. Yeah, it worked out well. We were working on some. We're doing a post frame building right now, and I just got a good stopping point, and I was like, it's nice out. I was like, man, I'm going to get into some insulating, and then I'm going to be itchy, and I'm like, I'd rather just start that in the morning. I was like, there's no sense in trying to do an hour worth of insulating at the end of the day to go home itchy. I was like, let's just do it all tomorrow, and then we'll just be itchy for one day, and then we're good to go.
That's like cleaning equipment.
Yeah.
You don't want to start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Start at 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock, and whatever. Just do it all day long. Be miserable
done.
for one day, and then
Yep.
be done with it.
Yep, 100%.
So how's that? How you guys coming along on that house now? I know you started in the winter, and it's been a,
one
it's been a
one
project.
day at a time. So it's taken a little longer than we wanted to, but there's all kinds of different factors in play there. So I mean, materials are still kind of a pain in the ass. We've had lead times are just like a joke. It's like they give you a
Still?
date. They give you a date, and it's like maybe it's that date, but like maybe it's 2 weeks later than that date, or maybe
Really?
it's 3 weeks earlier than that date. We don't really know. The date's just a formality on the paperwork at this
It's
point.
just we're gonna wing it and good luck.
Yeah. So with the project that we're on now, it's like a 2,100-ish square foot house, new construction, and then we did. What was that one? Like 40 by 96 with a 16-foot ceiling for a post frame building.
Oh, nice.
So it's all kind of just like he got into farming as a retirement deal, and he bought 110 acres, and I don't know, I think maybe like an older John Deere 9400 and older 44 series, 4-wheel drive, and was like, let's farm. And I was like,
Okay.
he's
Good for
farming.
him.
So we ended up building the house on that 110 acres that he bought, and then doing the post frame building for him too. So we started like probably back in. I mean, all the paperwork was signed in like June, so we started probably right around the 4th of July last year with like the excavating end of things. I ordered all my materials right then and there, like right away when I had my money. Trusses didn't show up until like September. The flooring system was sometime in August.
Oh man.
Like the studs, like that was a zip system house, so like that stuff, like that's at the lumber yard. Go grab it today, have it delivered tomorrow.
Yeah.
But the special stuff, windows, those
Oh
were like
yeah, I'm sure those
3
were
or 4
real
months,
pain in the ass.
So it's just like, and then they had a couple of windows that they changed, and when they changed the windows, I was like, great. Like talk about a real screw
So
up
like
in my schedule.
different sizes.
Yeah, exactly. So
Oh.
they had 2 windows on the house that there was 2 walls that didn't have a window, and then after the walls were built, they were like, hey, let's put a window in here. And I was like, that window might be like 3 months out, But
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
yeah,
the
so we
heads
had to
up on
order
that.
those 2, and then the part that just talk about sideways, all the holes are in the house.
Yeah.
And the kitchen window was framed. The windows show up. I put the windows in. That's when they told me that they wanted a bigger kitchen window. Not when there was a hole in the wall. Let's wait until the window's actually installed, and I have to uninstall that window, open it up, put in a new header, all that fun stuff. Just a nightmare. But the first set of windows, I ordered in like say July.
Yeah.
I got them in like roughly October. I ordered windows in November that were here before Christmas. Same window,
No
same
kidding.
company. So it's just like I said, that date is just like it's just a date on the paperwork, and it could be any time after you order it. So talk about trying to put together a schedule and just being like, might be here, might not.
Yeah, and especially if you're getting lead times that you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I don't even know what this lead time, if it's going to be right, wrong, otherwise. So you're trying to plan building this home,
Yeah.
and maybe your windows are 2 weeks late. Well, you can't really enclose the house then until your windows show up. So
And that was the biggest thing. So like when we ordered all the stuff there, we just kind of were like, let's just wait until I have the pieces and the parts that I need before we start putting it up. So like, you know, the foundation was in and backfilled, and we just kind of like we're sitting there waiting, and then as soon as the truss truck backed in and rolled the trusses
Now
off, I
let's
was like,
go.
we've got the floor, we've got the walls, we've got the trusses. We can
time to
at
go.
least put it under shingles.
Yes.
Once it's under shingles, you're good.
yeah,
So,
then it's easier.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's been a project. So I'd say like the custom homes are fun, but they have their tricks. So we're gonna try and move into just like more post frame stuff this year, because that's just like big rectangles. That's what I like.
That's a little
you
bit
know?
easier to handle.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not like you have a crew of 10 guys.
Nope.
You know, it's just
Two.
Yeah, there's just 2 of you. So the
Bare
more,
bones.
the bigger the projects, the more you two gotta
Right.
shit and get to get it done.
Yeah, and like we just kind of found with the post frame buildings that we like the equipment that I have, and just having 2 of us, like there's never people like standing around when you hire in extra guys to help with framing. Like you'll have guys that, you know, well, what do you want me to do next? Like, I don't know, go grab some 2x4s, cut cripples, do something, you know, but it's like they'll end up sitting around. But with 2 of us on the post frame, and I have like a scissor lift and a boom lift and then a telehandler, so it's like
You
I
guys
can
are
run
more
a
than
lift,
busy.
Adam can run a lift,
Yeah.
the telehandler can hold the trusses in the air, and away we go. So like we just have very little wasted time of people standing around.
That's
it's
a good
pretty
thing.
quick and efficient for
Yeah,
us.
you're pretty efficient that way.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm sure when you're building walls, it's like, I'd love to have about 3 more guys here today.
Yeah, which actually, you know, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but we kind of build our walls like totally different, because I actually build them on the ground,
And
and
then
then I stand the whole wall. But we don't put our posts in the ground either, which is like, you know, that's a whole. We could go down that rabbit hole, but
So
I
okay,
just like
so let's go down that rabbit hole, because
sure.
I'm not a builder, right? I've never built a home. I've seen homes built. I've been around them, but I've never done it. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of our viewers that are the same way. So, let's go down that rabbit hole. What do you mean by putting them in?
So I don't put my posts in the ground. So when we're talking post frame, so this is like the pole barns.
Yes.
You know, this isn't so much like all of our houses in the area are always on basements. That's pretty standard. Crawl space, worst case scenario,
Correct.
if somebody's not going to use it. So
But for your pole barns, your
for my pole
garages,
barns, post frame, that kind of stuff, what I do is I'll lay out my building, drill all my holes, fill them all with concrete, and then I have a wet set bracket. And it's got like maybe a 2 foot, you know, like 4 like 2 foot chunks of rebar in it, and that bracket gets set in the concrete, and then your posts sit in the bracket. So I've done plenty of repairs, which some guys have great luck and have had, you know, buildings probably put up in the 60s that are totally fine. I've had guys that have had newer buildings, and then they call us and they're like, hey, we've got a rotted off post. So it probably just depends on, you know, the topography of the land and all that. But I just say, if we put the posts above the ground, they just aren't going to rot off. So I just stick to that as my standard.
So when you put that sleeve in the concrete, then the post goes in that sleeve.
Nope.
No.
It's a bracket. So like,
Sorry.
I'll try and
you said
describe
bracket.
it. So
I was thinking sleeve.
yeah, so you're thinking probably more like the Midwest perma columns, which are a little different. And then they actually have like, I forget which company makes them, but they do have a sleeve that's like probably a composite material of some sort that literally just goes over the bottom before you put it in the hole. So the bracket that I have, so I fill the hole, our holes are, say, 18 inches in diameter, 4 foot deep,
Whatever that
we fill that
is.
all the way up with concrete. And then this bracket has probably two sides that are maybe like 14 inches tall.
Okay.
And then it's got, 4 chunks of rebar that go down into the concrete to hold it.
I'm getting.
And then we stand the wall, we stand the post up in that, and then there's like 2 1/2-inch or 5/8, I forget what they are, through bolts that hold that to the concrete.
Gotcha.
So, and we had one building that we put in all of our posts, we put in all of our sonos and in our brackets, and then the guy was like, oh, hey, like, instead of doing a door here, I want to put a door here. And it was a 16-foot door, so I was like, well, we'll just pull the middle post, and because everyone has their doubts with the rebar and the concrete. And you hook a chain to that bracket and you pull it up, you get the whole sono tube with all 4 feet of concrete with the bracket.
Yeah, you get the whole deal.
It doesn't come apart. So, but that's the bracket that I use. And then because we use that, what I do is we'll run around with our laser and we'll find all of our differences in height.
Your grades.
We'll mark each bracket with what the difference is from our highest bracket. And then our post grows in the length down so that our trusses all sit at the same height. So then we'll actually lay out all of our posts, put all of our girts on it, nail all of our girts, grab the telehandler, stand the whole wall up. And we can usually do like 48 feet worth of wall at a time.
No kidding.
So like on that 96-footer, on that 96-foot building that we did, the 96-foot wall was 2 picks.
That's not
and
bad.
then you bring in one post and you stand one post up in between and you make one post worth of connections in the air. So it's like way faster, and I don't care like how quick you think you can nail something together when you're hanging from the girts. I can probably nail it together a little bit faster than you when I'm on the ground. So it's pretty quick for us. So that's why we do that.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you've had really good luck with that.
Yeah. And then once everything's up in the air, we'll use like a bunch of straps and chains and stuff to
Whatever
kind
to
of
keep
shore
it
up the
there.
building.
Yeah.
And then another big one that I do different than a lot of guys that I've seen is when we start our trusses, we'll purlin off the entire bay. So like you have 3 trusses with a 16-foot purlin across them.
Correct.
So we'll do all of our purlins in that bay, and then we'll set the next 2 trusses and we'll do all of our purlins in that bay. And then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, if it gets windy, we just shore everything up and then we don't lose any trusses.
So you should be good at that point.
Yeah. Now I've seen lots of guys that will throw 2 purlins on each truss just to hold it in the air so they can throw all the trusses in a day. And then we get some crazy storm that night, and then all the trusses are pickup sticks in the morning. So it takes us a little bit longer, to do the trusses that way. But then I just know at the end of it,
it's done. It's
secure. Done and it's stout, and I don't have to worry about it. So that's the best, the best way that we found to do it. And then throw your steel and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure like when you get into some of these companies that all they do is build houses, and they have a crew of 10.
Right.
They can probably do it the old-fashioned way and be just fine. But with a crew of 2,
I remember talking to a buddy of mine that used to work in the post frame industry, and he was like, "Well, it's so much faster to put your posts in the ground." And I was like, "All right, like explain your process." And he's like, "Well, we have one guy hold the post. We have one guy use a bar in the hole to move the post to the bottom string line. We have one guy in the air that holds the top string line. We have another guy that sights the third." And I'm like, I'm just gonna stop you right there.
I'm 3 guys short already.
I was like, we got half that crew. I was like, I can't deal with that. So I was like, the way we do it is what works well for 2 guys.
Agreed. Yeah.
So and I like it because you would think normally a crew of 2 would probably do like these little like 30 by 40 buildings, and that would be like their capacity. But like 60 by 80s, 60 by 120, like I'll do the big ones too, because the way we do it, we can still be efficient and get done in the same amount of time as a crew of 4.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, and you do got to look at different angles that way when it's just the 2 of you. You got to look at ways of things to do differently than what the normal jobs guys do to be efficient, to be safe, to make sure
I think
that you're
too,
not
like codes and stuff will play catch up at some point, and I'm sure at some point, I don't know if we'll see it or not, I'm sure that putting your posts in the ground will go away. Just like decks on houses, like, can't put your posts in the ground anymore. They have to be on concrete above the ground. So it's like the residential side is caught on. So I'm like, I'm sure give it some time. I'm sure that that'll catch on through the rest of, the agriculture side and the commercial side and all that.
Sure.
But
I mean,
it just takes time to get everyone kind of up to speed on
and
how
there's
to do
always people that are looking to figure out the best way to do things. And if the best way to do things is what you're doing,
it. Right.
it will catch up at some
There's
point.
a lot of that, and then there's a lot of guys that are like, well, we've done it this way for the last 30 years, so why should I change now? And I'm like, I don't know, because, did you buy a new truck in the last 30 years? Like, I'm sure
Right.
the truck that you bought today is a whole lot different than the truck you bought 30 years ago.
I
So,
don't disagree with any of that. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's good. That's good that you're staying busy and everything then.
Yeah, plenty of stuff. I'm starting to break into the ag world a little bit this year. I've actually got like 3 buildings that are like just straight ag buildings, so that would
Cool.
be kind of cool.
Like,
So,
just
it's actually for a goat farm. So, one of the buildings is going to be a big nursery, so all the kids will go in that one, and then the big building there is going to be like open bed pack, because obviously like goats don't get free stalls.
No.
You'd have like free stalls would be like 2-foot free stalls.
it'd be little guys.
Yeah, it'd be kind of a big. I'm sure it'd be a mess for them. So one big open bed pack building, and then I think we're gonna modify an old like hay shed building so that he can put more goats in there too.
That'd be
so,
cool.
But yeah, so I'm starting to kind of break into the ag world, which is where I kind of want to go.
They're around here, I'm assuming.
Yeah, out in Zenda, so not too far away.
No,
at all.
yeah. I know quite
nice
a few
and
people
close.
out there in Zenda.
Yeah.
So
Loudenbecks, if you know them.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yep.
I was thinking that's who you was
Yeah,
gonna be, but
yeah. There's not a whole lot of goat dairies in Zenda.
not in
so-
Zenda.
No, it's
Cattle
it's,
dairies.
Yes,
there's a billion of them.
Yeah, there's a big boxing ring of cattle dairies over there, but
Yeah, there's definitely more head of cattle in Zenda than people. So
probably by like 10 times.
yeah,
Maybe
it's
more.
pretty impressive. I know that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we'll just be at the little goat dairy putting up a couple buildings for them, but
That'll keep you busy.
it's a step in the right direction, I feel like, so and like I was, we talked a little bit before we got on the air here, but man, houses just have so many moving parts and so many decisions to make that people just are like overwhelmed, I think, at times. And
Well, I think you can be too.
Oh yeah, and it's like I have like a lot of standards that like I'm just like, we're gonna build 2x6 exterior walls. We're gonna sheet it with something solid. Like I'm not gonna foam and 2x4. Like there's certain things that I just am like, I don't even give those as options to. But it's all well, I want this room to be this color, and I want this cabinet, and it's just that's where people get
Overwhelmed.
yeah, too many decisions. So that's where I'm like, if we can kind of just pick up a custom home here and there, and then we can really focus on, the post frame.
Yeah, I hear
sound
you.
Too bad.
The big thing that you're going to run into is the ag side of things is very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just start thinking about all the different building
Oh, yeah.
makers that are just in our area.
Yeah.
You know, you think about like Morton and FBI and,
Yep.
and all those guys, and then you think about the other guys that are
Yep.
doing what you're doing.
Yeah, like more like mom and pop shop.
yeah, like Metal Masters
Yep,
and
Bill, yep.
People like that. It's a competitive business.
Right. Now, the only thing I'll say tailing that is that I'm pretty sure if you asked Bill today, he's probably pretty booked for like probably a while.
You're probably right.
And so kind of my view as I start to enter that is I'm like, man, everyone that I talk to that's in that industry
Is
in
booked.
the ag side, they're like 2 years out. And I'm like, so not that I want to try and start like taking their work, but at the same time, there's going to be guys that need something this season, not
That
in
want
20,
this season.
you know, not in 2025.
Agreed.
They need it in 2023, and because I'm kind of moving into it, I'll have more availability.
You'll have
in my
options.
schedule.
Yeah,
So,
you'll have options.
you know, and then I'm sure too, like, man, once I can't even think of like 2 years out would be crazy. I'm like, I would be picking just like the cherry on the top of everything. I would want, like, there would be certain things that I would be like, I will not do anything less than that, you know? So I'm like, can I start picking up some of the stuff too that those guys don't want to necessarily mess with?
Yeah, because
you know?
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, every time I've talked to Bill, I'm like, busy? And he's like,
Yeah.
I don't have enough guys. I
Yeah.
can't hire anybody, and nobody wants to work. And I got 14 jobs over here, and oh yeah, we got to go to Texas to put in
Yeah.
skirts in. For
Yep.
them
Yeah,
dairy
I think
farms
he's like
down there.
with the Rolomatics or whatever.
Yeah, whatever they are.
Yep.
So I just don't know I don't know how I'm gonna get all this done. It seems like every time I talk to him, it's that way. So I mean, it is a competitive market, but
Right.
being that if you're just getting started into it, that might be a good thing.
Right.
Because you might be able to pick up some of that business, like you said.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping. I really man, I love doing like shops. Like shops are just because like hopefully one of these years I can build my own shop. I was hoping maybe this year, but now I've got some wrenches that got thrown into that plan with like different land opportunities and stuff. So now I'm like back to the drawing board again. And it's like it just took me like a year and a half to get the first shop figured out, and I haven't even built it yet. Now I've got other options on the table, but those are like, they're just a blast because I'm like the big, fancy shops. Those are just cool, and like I like the building systems involved in them. So that's what
Depending
I
on
think is really cool.
yeah, because I mean I'm sure there's a ton of different way to build them.
Right. I'm like, let me do that in-floor heat, let me do that spray foam,
Man,
all the goodies,
that indoor heat, that in the floor heat, that is
Yeah.
the way to go. It's not that much more. If you're gonna have concrete down, it's really not that much more to put all your piping in.
Nope.
So
A couple of the buildings that we did this year, I just told the people, I was like, listen, you can only put the tubes in once.
Yep.
It was like, once that concrete's down, you're never going to take that, $20, $30, $40,000 floor and chip it up to put the tubes in. It's like, the tubes aren't that bad.
So I got
Put
a
the
question.
tubes in now, and then if you don't want to use them, all that you're using is like 2 feet against a wall somewhere where all the pipes come up. Just leave that alone.
Yeah, exactly. So I did think about this one day, and being that you're in this industry way more than I am. Let's just say there was a building that had concrete, but no tubes. Could you add 2 inches of concrete, put tubes in that way?
That's a good question. I guess it would. I think the biggest thing once you're going to like an in-floor heat system is that you really want the foam under it so that you're radiating that heat back up into the space and you're not heating
Downwards.
heating down. That's a big one, and then also heating out. So I don't know how I would approach that. There's probably a couple different things that would kind of stand in your way.
Well, I mean, I just thought just talking hypothetically.
Yeah,
here.
no, I think that
you could put your wood against all the sides, all the way around the building, and then slope it up to 2 inches or whatever towards the middle.
Yeah, so that would be a couple of the things that I was going to talk about is depending on, so like when we do our grade board, I build like I don't know if you like think of like a U. So I have an interior and an exterior grade board, and then we put a 2x6 in the flat in between the two, and that lets our insulation go down next to the slab.
Yeah.
And then also that interior grade board just is like, I kind of look at it as like a permanent concrete form. So then our steel will sit all the way down to the concrete, so you would have to go around the interior of the building first and probably ditch a handful 4 or 6 inches of steel or somehow to get that grade board extended up. And then I would say like 2 inches, you're probably too thin, because you got to think like over top of that, those tubes are 1/2 inch inside diameter, so you're going to be like probably close to 3/4 outside diameter, and then what you get like 1 inch 3/4 inch aggregate, so you're probably talking about
You probably need
like a minimum of like 3
and a half,
and then it's like at 3 I'd probably be like, you should probably just think about 4 to make sure that like you have a little bit of wiggle room
I wasn't
over
thinking
the
about
tubes,
because I'm sure those guys are going to be putting heavy equipment on it.
Exactly.
So I forgot about that part of it.
That's where I think it's just best if you can come into it and you can just, plan for it ahead of time, put in your foam and put on, because then your tubes sit, we staple them right to the foam.
It's so right the first time.
They are all the way down to the bottom of that aggregate. And then you have, 5 or 6 good inches of concrete up above
Correct.
it. You can park your combine on it. You don't have to worry about popping a tube or something like that. So,
yeah, that's probably the right way to go. Like I said, I was thinking about that one day.
Yeah, it is. It is
like,
interesting.
Man, if somebody did buy a place,
right?
Let's just say you found a place out in the country, had a 60 by 80 building with a concrete floor. And you're like, oh, but I want to put floor heat in it. So what do you do? Do you knock all that concrete out and redo it?
I think I guess. Because the big advantage to the in-floor heat is that it's a radiant heat.
Correct.
So you're getting that concrete slab up to temp, and then
it stays there.
And then, like, for, if you're working on your own stuff and it's cold outside and you're rolling around on your creeper, well, it's the warmest at the floor.
I think my favorite part is my feet don't freeze in the wintertime.
100%. So I think if I was in that situation where I had a nice 60 by 80 that was already built, but they were cheaped out, and they
or it's an older building that didn't have the
I would
tubes
probably
at the
look
time.
at like doing the overhead radiant heat so that you still have radiant, because I think that's the big perk is like the stuff being warm. And then like on my end of things, because like I have like a lot of shop equipment, like table saws and planers and all that kind of stuff. Any type of like forced air heat is always just super moist, and so then all that condensation is on all those cold tools, and then you have nice table saw with a nice rusty top to it.
Yeah,
it's like
it's being
that,
used.
Hate
Jack,
that. So
it's being used.
Radiant heat, you're keeping the actual stuff warm, and then it's not condensating and making a big mess.
I get it. I get it. I was just being an asshole.
Budget-wise, throw that forced air hot dog up in the corner and call it a day. It's the cheapest way to do it.
Yeah, it depends on your budget for sure.
Yeah, that's always what it comes down to when we have those conversations with clients is budget.
Yeah, and I think everybody's got to have a budget, right? Unless you're the government.
Yeah.
Go them.
True. Yeah.
But
give it away.
But I think if you have a budget, especially if you're going to build a house or you're talking big financial stuff.
Right.
I like to make sure that my budget might be 10% more than what I'm actually going to spend. Because you just never know what nooks and crannies or things that might pop up. So all of a sudden you got this extra 10%, even though, so at $100,000, that's $10,000. So make sure that your budget's for or make sure that you're building or whatever it is for $90,000.
Right.
And keep that 10 extra. And guess what?
Right.
If everything goes perfect and you come in at $90,000, now you still got $10,000.
Exactly.
So that's the way I've always looked at things, right, wrong, or otherwise.
No, so I think you're on the right track. So my process, so I actually have a fancy computer that also acts up sometimes, and I know we're
this computer loves me, and it always loves me. It's just
technology.
Sometimes
technology is not fun.
Sometimes it just need to be restarted.
Yeah. So I've got a big fancy Mac that runs a software called Chief Architect. So I can actually, on that software, I could build it's crazy, 47 stories or something stupid. I'm like, it's way overkill for what I do, but it works really good.
Building a skyscraper up there where you live?
No skyscrapers.
Come on.
No. Actually, on my commercial lot, it does say I'm allowed to build 150 feet in here, and I was like, well,
there's 15.
I was like, we don't have a lot of outside storage, so I was like, maybe we'll just start going up. No, my neighbors already hate me, so we'll try not to do that. But yeah,
they already hate you. What's it matter?
I'm trying to be nice.
Well,
I gotta live there for a long time.
Are you?
Okay. Well, I mean, if I build my shop in Sharon, I might as well not move. So it's like I'd rather have my shop be 5 minutes around the corner, and then if I build in Sharon and move to Walworth, then I gotta drive to Sharon every day. I might as well just live in Sharon.
True.
So, but anyway, with Chief, I try to go through, and you can actually once we design a house, you could walk through the house on the computer, and you can turn on lights and look out windows. Like, it's pretty realistic when it's all said and
It
done.
sounds like it.
Yeah, it's super cool. I try to get people to spend the time with me when we're designing to go through and look at all the details and pick out all the stuff that they want. So then I can give them the number. And that's the number. And if that number isn't, say that number is 750,000 and they're like, "Oh, our budget's 650." I can say, "Okay, well, we can work with 650, but
This is gonna
we're not doing
doing
these crazy countertops. We're gonna downgrade that a little bit. We're gonna maybe not tile the whole bathroom and do a 4x8 custom tile shower. We're gonna make it a 5x3. Start narrowing down, and we can start
Well, you start with the
changing
expensive
things.
places, the bathrooms,
Exactly.
the kitchen.
Exactly. That's huge money in those 2 rooms. And then like the big one too, with like all these people that want to build their forever home, is they're always like, "Well, let's put a steel roof on it," and I'm like, "Okay,
I priced
but
a
like,
steel roof
yeah, no,
a year
it's
ago,
not-
and I was
no,
like,
no,
yeah.
that's a lot of money." I looked at a steel roof for my house, and I can do it at cost, and I'm still putting asphalt on my house. So
This one was about 4 times of what it was shingles.
yeah,
That's like I'm almost 35.
yeah,
4 times, I can put 3 more roofs on this house easy, just because the
Exactly.
prices keep going up with asphalt. I can put 3 more roofs on this house at 20 years apiece.
right.
I'm gonna be dead before I hit the roof.
Yeah.
I'm just roll
No,
with it.
So that's kind of where I was with mine too. Is I was like all about the steel roof, and then the more in my house is super cut up 12-12 roof. It's got 4 intersecting gables, so there's lots of hips and valleys to deal with.
Yeah,
and all
mine's
that stuff.
easy.
And I'm like no. Well, and that was at my cost, and I was still like, we're gonna
I'm
just
good.
slap some asphalt on here and call it. But there's things that we can trim out, and then I can get down into that budget. But then I still tell people like, hey,
Plan.
you need the plan to put a little bit aside, because you're gonna see something once it all starts coming together. I spent the money on the software to try to avoid some of that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, especially in the remodels, when we start talking about like, oh, let's remove this wall and stuff, people can't always see that. And so like I can literally walk into the kitchen, and then I can have the wall on, click a button, and then the wall goes away, and they can see the difference.
Yeah, and and maybe when you get to $650,000 houses,
Right.
maybe you don't save 10%.
Right.
But maybe that number's 5% or 4%
Yeah,
or
'cause,
6% or
right,
whatever.
there's
But
huge
you
numbers.
definitely want to have a little more in your bank account than what I'm
We've
telling
literally
the
never done a
contractor.
house start to finish without a change order.
Oh, I guarantee. I
There's
can believe
always there. I had one house that we were really close on. It was in 2019, and they did one change order. I was blown away, and all it was is they upgraded their flooring to hardwood. That's it. It was like a $13,000 change order or
but
something like that.
That's
and it
nothing.
was-
Do you do hardwood?
Yeah.
You put
Pre-finished.
the hardwood down?
Yeah, I'll do pre-finished. I don't mess with. I did one project where we did, like the actual raw hardwood, sanded, stained, finished, and it gets kind of tricky because you actually have to like open the grain, so you wipe the floor first with water, and that kind of opens all the grain.
I know.
And then you put
I know
the
a
stain
guy
on.
that does it all, and I leave it to him.
I made the mistake, and there was one spot where the water bucket was, and underneath that bucket didn't get wiped down with water. And once all the stain went on, it all looked really pretty,
Except for that spot.
one 5-gallon bucket circle. So then it was, hey, let's get that sander out and let's take all that back down again and try that again. And this time we're gonna make sure we get that water under the bucket. So
Oh my.
yeah, I was like, nah, I'm done with this. So pre-finished though, like that's fine. We'll just
Slap her on, hit her in.
bang it in today and walk on it tomorrow. It's easy. You don't have to mess with anything. So we'll do that end of it. But anytime that we get the fancy, like true hardwood stained and sealed,
Hire somebody.
done.
I got a
Let it
guy,
go.
so if you need one.
I'll definitely take more numbers. Doesn't help to, it doesn't hurt to have a whole bunch of different people that can
He
look at
does.
stuff. So
He does regular hardwood. He'll do the snap-on.
Mm-hmm.
He'll do whatever you need for floors.
Cool.
The guy's really good. He's a professional. He does a really good job.
So that's all I'm looking for. I just want guys that are, will keep quality in mind while they're putting
Oh,
a house
absolutely.
together.
Yeah,
that's
I've
all
seen
that
this
I
guy
want.
do 2 or 3 floors, and he's been
Right.
great every time.
Yeah, a lot of times it seems like the owner operators are on that, and once you get into like a little bit bigger companies where like they start hiring it all out to like kids that just don't care, that's when the quality just falls off the.
Which I can see it. I mean, they're hiring people to do that job, and if those people aren't sold on that job,
Right.
I mean, it's not their name on the company. You know, the kids that are
100%.
doing it or the people that are doing it. So, I mean, they're doing it, but if it's your name on it,
Yeah, and that's where it's really tricky because, like, I always, like, I should probably be, like, medicated for OCD because there's a lot of stuff that bugs me. And I'm like, I think sometimes that's good, and, like, sometimes it's not good.
Yeah. Sometimes it can be overbearing.
Yeah, because there's a lot of times where, like, I'll look at something and I'll be like, no, I have to have it 100%. It has to be right. But then I'm like, when it's at 80%, a lot of times, like, clients will come in and they'll be so thrilled about it. And I'm like, they can't see, like,
What you're
they
seeing.
can't see the last 20% because, like, they don't look at that kind of stuff every single day. And
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
like,
You do.
and that's where I have to start, like, really figuring out, because, like, I don't want to dip my quality off, but, like, sometimes to achieve that last 20%, the time that goes into it,
It's huge.
it doesn't work out. So unless you have the right customer that's willing to pay to have it at that level, like, I have to kind of, like, okay, like, this is good and this is great to most people. It would bug me if it was in my own personal house, but, like, everyone else, they're never going to see it, you know. A good example, I was at a friend's house, and I'm sitting there, and we're on the deck, and there's one course of siding, and the siding came down, and then it went back up at the seam, and it was, like, totally out of whack, totally out of level. And everyone was going on and on and on about how great the siding looked, and they were all thrilled to pieces with it. And all I could see was that one course that went from, like, maybe like a 5-inch exposure down to, like, a 4-inch exposure, and then back up to a 5-inch. And I was like, I would have ripped the whole wall off and put that back to where it needed to go. But I'm like, there's a lot of time invested in that, and everyone there, nobody saw it. And I was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, if they don't see it, they're happy with it.
Yeah.
Let it fly.
So.
Yeah, because, I mean, even, like, the snap-together floor, you know, some spots, I didn't get it completely snapped together.
Right.
Missed it, whatever.
And then it gets really hard when you're, like, 20 more rows that way to get that spot clicked in.
And I'll be honest, I found one just the other day. Fuck, I did this floor 2 years ago.
Right.
You know, I didn't do the
know,
whole
some
floor.
of that
I didn't
too,
do the
though.
whole floor. I did some of it, but I helped whoever did this, and
Right.
and you know, was it a spot that I didn't miss? Was it a spot he didn't? It doesn't
Right.
matter. At the end of the day, it's like,
trickiest part too, though, with
I missed that 2 years ago, and I see it
Right.
today. Does it bother me? No, because you know what? I missed that fucker 2 years ago.
right. That's my one beef with, like, the LVP floors is, like, it's not always that way. You might have had it all clicked together, but, like, the stuff moves because it's a floating floor, and it, like, will sometimes unclick itself. Like, I've had callbacks where, like, somebody has, like, a really heavy dresser, and the seam next to the dresser, when the seasons change, will open up. And it's like, well, the floor was held down here, and it was allowed to move over here. It unhooked, you know. So then it's like, okay, well, we'll pull a piece of baseboard and we'll pull that back over, lock it up. It's good enough. But it's like, man, you know how much of a, like, pain in the ass it is to go back and, like, do that because, like, someone's just got, like, this big ass dresser that's just jam packed with clothes. So I'm like, that's where, like, a lot of times I'll let my LVP go. And that's why, like, I prefer to do, like, the hardwood end of things because, like, I can nail it down. And guess what?
They don't move.
It isn't going to open up.
No.
And if it does open up, there was probably, like, you know, 5 inches of water on the floor or something that caused it to
There's a
open up.
reason it did.
Yeah, it's not just, oh, my dresser's got a lot of weight in it, and that's enough
That's
weight
true.
to keep
I never
that
really
floor.
thought about that.
So I'm not saying that you're, you know, a good floor guy or a bad floor guy, but it may not have been your fault that seam opened up.
It happened, and I don't really, like I said,
Yeah.
I looked at it and I'm like, it was just like this, you know. I looked at it
Yep.
and I'm like, I don't remember seeing that ever.
Yeah.
Oh well, shit happens.
Moving on.
Yep.
Next.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's in a spot where it stays dry and nobody walks on, so let it be.
Yeah.
So I think we need to take a quick bathroom break,
Sure.
and then we'll get back to it. We were talking before we got on air. You have your own YouTube channel.
Certainly try. So
Wow,
it's
I try too.
talk about a hard platform to crack, though. Man, it is.
Mr. Beast has cracked it.
Yeah, he's done well.
That guy's got it down. Yeah, he knows what he's doing and how to do it.
100%. But yeah, it's been really tricky. So I guess the channel is the Bearded Builder. That's me.
The Bearded Builder.
Yeah, that's what I called it. So I just like it's so hard because I was gonna do like my company name, but then like I feel like if it's a customer front, like you probably have to always be like prim and proper, you know. And like construction sites aren't always prim and proper.
No,
you know. Sometimes.
Do you guys like use cuss words or
no? No, can't use those. Honestly, I think
fuck is a daily word around there.
Maybe like a minutely word on some projects, but honestly, I thought I heard there was like some study that if there's more swear words, cuss words on a house, it'll be stronger than one built with less. You know,
it seems right. I'll take it. I mean, it seems good to me.
Yeah, like if you walk by a construction site and it's just fuck this, fuck that, fuck the other thing, you're like, that's a building. But if you walk by and it's just like dead quiet, you're like, something's wrong.
I give it
there.
10 years.
So, but yeah, when I started the YouTube, I was like, oh man, I don't know what to do. I was like, if I do Berry Contracting, which is my company name, I was like, then I feel like if you know, a customer is searching on like Google and then YouTube videos come up, I feel like I can't have like too much. I have to be just more aware, you know. And so I was like, well, I don't really want to do that. So I was like, I'll do something completely different. So I was like, I'll do the Bearded Builder. I've wore a beard forever, except for the couple brief months of a mustache recently. I don't know if that's my thing. I tried it because, you know, new dad, and I was like, I heard dads were supposed to have mustaches.
Did you buy the oil and
you know,
bring it all up on the side?
I can't really get into that. You know, I got the beard oil, which is like a must, but I was like, I don't think I could get into the whole.
Really got to get that baby long so you can do that.
Because then when you're trying to eat a burger, more of it gets in your mouth than the burger. So I'm like, eh. But so yeah, I just decided the Bearded Builder, and then I was like, now it's not really connected to my company, and now I can put more of like our personalities at work into it, and then it's not as customer facing. So
correct.
Plenty of customers have found it, and then they think it's funny because like they know me at that point in time, and so then it's okay. But I'm like,
well, yeah, it's no different than like this podcast. You know, the people that know both of us. Mm-hmm. They're probably going to enjoy the shit out of this. Right. The people that only know you or only know me, they're going to be like, well, okay, let's go into this gingerly and see what it is. Right. I know your personality or my personality, but I don't know each other's. And I get exactly what you're saying.
So yeah, but I've been on that for like, I don't know, probably like seriously about it probably like 3 or 4 years now, and like in that 3 or 4 years I think I've amassed a whole like 2,500 subscribers, so it's tough.
2,500?
Yeah,
good for you. I think I'm at like 12.
It takes time.
Oh, I don't care. I'm not doing.
I'm
not
worst,
doing it for that.
Yeah, the worst part was like, man, I feel like I put out like 3 months of videos when I first started, and then it was like 2 subscribers, and I was like, why am I even doing this, you know? But actually what kind of kicked it all off was I had it's a terrible video. It's still out, but it's a terrible video. When I operated out of my old truck, I had a video about how I organized everything in the bed of my truck, and it was much better than what you would normally see a carpenter's truck look like.
Okay.
And that video, like, all of a sudden it was like, I checked on it one day and it was like, you have 40,000 views on that. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And then I started doing, when I built my trailer, and I was like, well, if the people liked how I organized my truck, wait until they see the trailer that I have in mind.
Yeah.
So then, like, the trailer videos did really well. So, like, all those have 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000
I don't
views
think I've broke 300.
Yeah,
like,
it's tough.
I don't care. I'm not doing it for that.
But yeah, so it took a little bit of time, and then like I was super excited because once you break 1,000 subscribers, then you can monetize as long as you don't say fuck too many times. And so then like I monetized, and I was like
okay, so for stupid YouTube people like me, what's monetize?
Money.
Oh.
So then you can start collecting your ad revenue.
Cool.
Because if you were to go and if I were to log in and watch one of your videos, 9 times out of 10 there's going to be an ad before it. But because you don't have 1,000 subscribers or you're not part of the YouTube partnership, you can't collect a little tiny percentage of that ad revenue.
Yeah, well, I don't.
So
I don't probably ever get that big. So
I finally crossed 1,000 mark, and I was like, well, let's turn that monetization on. Come on.
Hell yeah!
If I can have a little bit of free money, then
Give me that 84 cents a month.
So actually, it was pretty good. The first handful of months, like I have mine set up to where when there's $250 in my AdSense account with Google, it'll take the $250 and just direct deposit it to my bank account.
Cool.
So, and I see probably a deposit right now, like probably between like 3 and 5 times a year. So it's like,
hey, that's a little extra.
$1,000, $1,200.
A little extra money in the bank.
And I'm like, hey, so like the first one came in, I was like, I'm gonna go buy a GoPro, so it's like, let's like up the content game a little bit and let's get a nicer camera. So like I've tried to like buy stuff to like kind of make that better, and then like I got like a little drone, so then I was like, now I can do the cool aerial shots and stuff like
Heck
that.
Yeah.
So but it's been kind of fun, hard to crack, and then I just like I took probably like a 9-month break. Like I don't think, because Cash was born, well actually I guess probably like more like a year-long break, because Cash was born a year ago in March here.
That's his son, by the way.
Yeah, already a year old.
That's congratulations too, by the way.
Little terrorist
awesome.
in the making, so he's already getting into everything, and oh boy.
Kids are supposed to do that.
I know.
You know that, right?
I am not prepared yet. I have more work to do on the house before I'm ready for him to be up and walking and tearing
Well,
everything back
you better
down,
get
so.
after it, because you said he's almost a year,
Yep,
which means he's
the
almost
18th.
walking.
Yeah, he's trying. Like
That's what I'm
hell.
getting at.
Yeah.
So
soon.
TikTok,
Should have been done 3 months
Dad.
ago, but that's okay. So when he was born, I took like a year off. I actually just posted a video recently because like I just got bored. I was like, there's only like I can only make a video like this is how you frame a wall so many times.
yeah, but
before
it's,
I'm
it's
like,
it's more than that though.
like, it gets boring.
No, it's more than that.
So
Because
that's where I think I need to change what I'm doing instead of making how-to videos.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
So you did. Sounds like you've done great on making how-to videos.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's on the job videos.
Right.
How do you do on the jobs videos?
Right.
Okay, how do you be a boss video?
Yeah, that's
You
where
know,
I think
because
like,
you
I
have
wanna
somebody
do
that
more
works
of,
with
like,
you.
Right. I want to do more of like a vlog style stuff of like, because like man, some days when I tell people like how my day went, they're like, "You're full of shit," and I'm like, "No, that's 100% how my day went." I was like, "This happened, this broke. I fixed that. Then I ended up doing this," and they're like, that doesn't even make sense. And I'm like, I know. It could only happen to me,
I just told you a story that happened.
Yeah.
So,
well,
I mean,
I get it, So that's
all
where I'm
have-
like, I think if I get into like more of like the day-to-day, like what's going on, I think that'll bring like more of the interest back. And then it'll be more fun for me too.
Exactly. Because
like,
if
like
you
I said,
can do
it's
it,
like, oh, put 3 nails in this 2x4 like that. It's like that gets boring.
and you've already got that.
Yeah.
And there's already 100,000 videos out there on how to build.
How to frame a house.
Now you got to make it your way.
Right.
You have to make this. Hey, I'm here on the job today with my full-time guy, George.
Here we go.
Whatever.
Right.
And we're gonna do this.
I'm gonna
we're
start
do
calling
this.
him George because I'm sure we're gonna listen to this because we usually when we're like driving places we'll try and like flip your podcast on when I see you post about it. So I'm sure we're gonna have to listen to this one. So from now on, Adam is George.
I was on vacation last week, so we didn't get a chance to make one. But I'm trying to do it every Monday or every other Monday. But I'm trying to do it every Monday.
Sure.
Just because it keeps everybody. Everybody hates Monday.
You know-
and if my podcast can bring
Exactly.
3 people a smile on a Monday on their drive
then you've
home
done your job.
or whatever,
Yep.
damn it, I've done my job.
100%. Yeah, I found too when the YouTube's like when my channel started to like really grow because it was like super slow growing to like 300 subscribers, and then like from 300 to like 1,000 was pretty quick, and then like the 1,000 to 2,500 was like pretty quick too. What I found is like it's like a schedule. And like when I'm in the mood of making videos, I'll put out 2 a week, and I'll do like a Monday, Friday, and I'll do Monday, Friday, and I'll have like 6 or 8 videos that are all edited in the queue, scheduled to drop, and I'll drop them Monday at 5 o'clock, Friday at 5 o'clock, Monday at 5 o'clock, Friday at 5 o'clock, and then people start to like
to get used to
hey,
that.
like, I know that there's going to be a video this week.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
Friday at 5, I'm going to tune in to see what happened between Monday and Friday. You know. So
Well, if
that's
everything
kinda what
goes
I've been-
right, I'm the same way. I have everything edited, done, ready to go Monday when I'm at work. So it's just a matter of when it pops up, hey, at
Yep.
4:30, 4 o'clock, whatever, it goes.
Yep.
It doesn't always work that way.
Nope.
Just because I get some late arrives or
Right,
cancellations, so
right.
I got to hurry up, try to find somebody else or whatever. But it's definitely Mondays. I like doing it on Mondays because everybody hates a Monday. And if I can bring a little smile, then I'm doing what I like to do. You know?
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny that we're both like going down the same avenue right now, because that's where I'm at with like the YouTube channel. Is like I'm just like I don't need to do the boring like this is how I frame this wall, this is how I put in a door, this is how I trim crown molding, whatever it is. I'm like now I want to do like. I just drove to Detroit, Michigan, and bought a boom lift for $2,000. What was I thinking? You know what I mean? It's like that makes for a more interesting video.
It sure does, because people are like,
it's like,
why are you driving all the way to
100%.
Detroit?
Yep. And that's actually true. That's a true story.
was?
I drove to Detroit this year, and I bought a boom lift for $2,000.
What was wrong with that?
I was supposed to buy the boom lift for more than that, and because it was running. When I got there, it wasn't running.
Oh.
And
Well, you know a good diesel mechanic.
oh yeah, and I was just like, hey, I'm not taking it not running at that price. I was like, if you guys can't get it fired up, then I was like, I got $2,000 cash. That's the best that I'm gonna give you. And he was like, we'll figure it out. And so they went and they rounded up 4 fork trucks, and they put one under each tire, and they picked it up. I backed my trailer under it, and then I was like, now I have to figure out how to get this off when I get back to Wisconsin. So yeah, that was quite the adventure. And then the best part, so I'm an idiot. I'll tell everyone just so they know. I know I'm an idiot.
Hey,
I didn't get my
we all
CDL.
are.
I didn't get my CDL when it was easy.
I didn't either. I should have.
Big mistake.
I know.
So then I got really scared because I was in Michigan, so I'm 3 states away. The lift to the best I could find online was roughly like 10,000 pounds on my 4,000 pound deck over trailer, so that puts that at 14,000. And my truck with the transfer tank and a full tank of fuel is like just over 10. And I was like, that's the best information I could find on the 1998 lift. I was
You're
like,
good.
It might be a little more, might be a little less, but I knew I was going to be flirting with that
You
26
got
number.
it. You got it.
And then I got pulled over by a state trooper, and I was like, oh. I was like, I'm going to be calling Owen or someone to come and bail me out and drive this thing home. But I was like, he walked up and he was like, where's your DOT numbers? And I was like, I have to have DOT numbers? And he was like, well, yeah, if you're a hotshot driver, you should know that. And I was like, I'm not a hotshot driver. I was like, I just bought this so I could side my house. And he was like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, I mean, I got the thing for $2,000. He's like, you bought a boom lift for $2,000? I was like, yeah. I was like, it was a really good deal. I was like, I'm from Wisconsin, dude. And he was like, oh, well, do you have a bill of sale? And I was like, yeah. And I like pulled the paperwork out and I showed it to him. He's like, oh, see you later, man. Have a safe drive home. And I was like, that would have been like,
Yes, sir.
that would have been like ticket.
In Illinois?
And then, like,
Oh, hell yeah.
it would have been a
Nailed ya.
disaster. And so I was like, holy shit, we made it. And we left Michigan, got through Indiana, Chicago, made it home, no issues. And that's my $2,000 boom lift. So, and now she runs like a top. And it's probably the best piece of equipment that I own.
Yeah?
I've probably got like,
What was wrong with
bet-
it? Something simple, I'm assuming.
yeah, so they were trying to find the starter relay because the starter wasn't clicking over. The starter relay is in the engine compartment. They started pulling all the relays apart that actually run the different functions on the lift, looking for the starter relay. Then put a bunch of wires back together wrong.
Oh, of course.
So then, luckily, it's a JLG machine, which JLG, if you guys don't know, is all open source. You can go online.
Yeah, I think that's all on.
And you can
yeah.
find any model. You can pull up the parts manual, service manual, whatever you want. So we literally went through one wire at a time, blue wire red tracer goes to relay this on pin 87. Okay, sounds good. And we started
that.
we put all of it back together, and every time you got another relay hooked up, it was like, now the boom works, now the basket rotates, now the turntable rotates, now it drives. So it's just like
We're getting there.
Next, and I slowly but surely got it back together. And then I bought like
It's
I called,
so
it's
tedious to do
it
that
is.
shit. God
but
damn.
$2,000.
I get it. That's
it had a
dirt
Deutz
cheap.
in it, right? Deutz diesel. And,
Little 4-cylinder.
2-cylinder.
2-cylinder.
Little guy. It's only a 34-foot lift, so it's not real big. But I called
still
Deutz
works.
for a starter, and they wanted like $800. So I was like, "Hello, China." Ordered one from Amazon and threw that on there, and it's fires up.
I'd have had your brother-in-law rebuild it for you.
I thought about it, but I was like, he's got enough stuff to deal with.
He's got plenty of time between sundown and sunrise.
Oh, I know. That's where I feel bad. I'm like, we should all be able to take a little break between those times.
Yes,
So.
we all have to.
But
That's
yeah,
just
what
part of life.
What a mint lift that thing is. So I probably have like $1,000 or $1,500 into it after my 2,000, and I'm like, you can't buy a good running lift for $3,500. Like,
No.
it's just unheard of.
No,
So
not at all.
definitely my favorite machine. Her nickname is Boomer, so
It's a good nickname.
it is a good nickname.
It's better than Boomhauer.
Yeah, that's true. Boomer with a little Deutz into her.
Well, that's good, man. I'm glad
Yeah.
you're. So you're gonna get back active on your YouTube channel then?
Yeah,
Or trying to now that your
yeah. I
COVID's
probably
over,
won't be,
kid's
yeah.
born, doing well, the
I'm
wife's
not gonna
happy.
be as crazy as I used to be, because I used to try to put out like 2 or 3 videos a week, and that's a lot.
aggressive.
I think I'm gonna try and set it up.
Unless
to
you're
where,
Mr.
like,
Beast.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's his full-time job, though. You know. Which that'd be cool if I could get to the point where like YouTube was like my full-time career, and I just use my job sites as a set. Whatever. That's fine. I'm sure like I'm sure everyone knows like RR Buildings, you know, like Kyle he's like just over by like Dixon, I think, not too far from here, but like I'm sure at this point he makes more money from YouTube and all of his partnerships than he does, you know, putting
building
up
one.
buildings, you know. But it's like putting up the buildings is his set, you know. So it's like, well, whatever. Like I'm getting paid to build my set that I make way more money on YouTube,
And I'm getting
which is super
paid to put the building up.
like 100%. So I'd be cool if I got to that point, but I'm like, I'm not gonna work that hard at it. So I'm like looking at it.
I don't
if I
do
can
it
do
for
like
that reason.
a Monday to Friday like week-long recap, and then maybe drop that on the next Monday, or maybe
That's
even
cool.
like a
That'd
Saturday
be cool.
video or something, and just be like, hey, this is what happened Monday through Friday.
Yeah, like
you know?
a 2 or 3 minute
Right.
thing, 4 minute thing,
Easy.
or 1 minute a day,
and done.
whatever.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
drop that out there, and then
And then like the best part is like when, you know, this thing broke, and then it, you know, set this snowball of bad things that happened to me day. I can like just like focus on those moments a little bit more. You know?
I'm keeping a blooper reel.
Oh, I bet that'll be good.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep all the parts that I exit out and then save those
Right,
for a blooper
right.
reel. Because someday I'm gonna come out with a blooper reel, and it's probably
That'll
gonna have
probably
the most
be,
hits.
yeah. I was gonna say that'll be what pushes you way over. You
Probably.
know? It'll be the funny stuff that does it.
Well, I mean, I try to keep a lot of the funny stuff in here, but it's the other stuff that I edit out that, you know, because it was too long of a video or
Sure,
whatever
right.
the case may be. I edit some of that stuff out, and it's like, man, it's still pretty funny and it's still pretty
Right.
good. I better hold on to that. You
Yeah.
know, put it in
put it in
the
file.
unknown file for
Right.
now, and
Yeah, no, that's good.
someday it'll come out. I think right now I got
I'll
about
be looking forward to that one.
I think
That'll
I got
be
about
funny.
3 minutes worth.
Could probably do like one a year. That'd be good if you could get like a,
We'll see.
you know, 20 or 30 minute blooper reel.
Yeah.
each
Oh,
year.
I
That
would totally do
be,
that. And then
that would be good.
My goal kind of is if I take like another vacation, use that
Oh, sure, for your time.
for my
off.
time off.
No, that
that
makes
way,
sense.
if I'm gone for whatever reason,
Mm-hmm.
at least people still got some. Oh, hey, they can look back over all the episodes that we had and look at all the different
Right.
stuff. You know, it's just
Yeah.
something different, I guess.
No, that would be good. I should even think about that for one.
You should. And I wish
Stupid
Joe
shenanigans.
Rogan and Paul
Right.
Logan and all these guys would do that.
Would do funny stuff.
Just
right.
because we're not expecting it, and all of a sudden,
Right.
bam, you put it out there. It's like, oh, I gotta watch this.
100%.
It'd be cool,
Agree.
I think.
Yeah.
So you got a couple hobbies.
Yeah, one or two.
One of them
Sometimes.
is you like to bike.
Yeah,
Motorcycle.
occasionally, Yeah,
Now that you got it back together, anyway.
yeah. That's the bane of my existence for a couple years there. Blow it up, rebuild it. Blow it up, rebuild it. Blow it up, rebuild
I think we all have had something like that in our
Yeah,
lives where the love-hate relationship is still there. You love it, but
Right.
you hate it more than you love it, but you don't want to get rid of it because you love it that much.
So I bought a bike and it was a number of years ago, and like my mom, like she did.
Not good.
Like we weren't like we could have 4-wheelers growing up, no dirt bikes. Like 2 wheels was a no go. Like she like Harleys, no way. And so once I was living on my own, I was like, check out this Harley. I actually bought my first one in probably like February up in Oconomowoc, and then I was like, oh shit, I gotta get it home. So I drove it home in February, and I had like
I seen a motorcycle today.
Yeah.
I mean, it was only
after
52
the
degrees or
rain
something.
like that, like everyone will be like, well, most of the salt's off the roads, let's go.
Seen
And
one
I'm
today.
like-
I couldn't believe it.
So yeah, I drove the thing home in like February, and like when I got home, I was like, my fingers have never been this fucking cold in my life. But whatever. So I drove that one home, and I had it for probably almost that whole season, that whole first season, and then I got caught. And I was like riding somewhere, and I looked over, and it was my mom in like the car next to me, and I was like, oh shit. So that
Hey, Ma.
conversation.
How are you?
Whose bike is that? Mine.
Do you want me to lie or tell the truth?
So that was
Either way,
that
I'm
was
writing
kind
it.
of funny.
So
And then like shortly after that is when I started my business. So then like the first year that I had that bike, I put like 8,000 miles on it that summer. Like I was like, if I can drive this thing, I'm driving it. Like if I can take it to work, I'm taking it to work. If I can take it to school, I'm taking it to school. Like I don't care. I'll ride home from school at 10 o'clock at night just so I could ride it. So I was like just addicted. Harley, that one was like a 2010 Wide Glide with like 16-inch apes, and it was just a super cool, super fun, nimble bike. But I always wanted a street glide. That was always like the big dream. So when I started the business, it went from being like 8,000 miles a year that I was putting on it to none, very little. Most of the time I would use
well,
it.
yeah, because
Like I
you're
would use
running
it
your own
when
business.
I was and once I wasn't working for somebody, I had to bring my own tools. So then I was like, well, I can't put a miter saw and a table saw and all this other stuff on my Harley.
Make a trailer.
I thought about it for a while, believe me. I thought about it.
I believe you.
But I was like, I was running my truck every day for work then, so the Harley, I literally used it to like drive to the fire department for trainings. So like I drove like 10 houses down to the fire department and I was like, this is getting really old. Like it doesn't even get like over like 30, you know what I mean? So I ended up saying, well, I guess I got to do my growing up and I got to let my toy go. And so I sold it. And then I was like, literally like every year since then, I was like, man, I'm just riding that bike, And so I had a really good year in 19. It was like probably, so I guess for reference, like I got started and it would have been like 15 or 16-ish is like when I started everything. And like I did a little bit better the next year, but like 19 was just like, I don't know what happened. I had like 6 guys working for me, W-2 employees. Like we did more work than I know what to do with.
That's awesome.
Like, it was crazy.
That's
And
great.
I was just like, holy shit, what's happening? But I was like, just ride the wave, So I had a really good year. And then in 20, I was like, it's time. I had a good year. I was like, it's time. So I found a street glide, and I bought the street glide. It had a 120R motor in it, which is like at the time was Harley's biggest
The big one, the
displacement
big
engine
dog.
that you could get, which is what I wanted. It's all already like mostly blacked out. There's only like probably like crash bars and like the bag bars and a couple things that had to get sent out for powder, and then it was absolutely murdered, which is what I wanted. I did my own bars on
Murdered
it.
means completely black, dark,
Just no chrome.
no
Like,
chrome,
no chrome allowed. Just
and
murdered out.
no black gloss, just
Yes.
really
Just
dark colored.
Black on black on black on black.
Exactly.
So, and that's what I always wanted. And so I finally had the bike that I wanted. And then like probably like 2 months into having it, I was out riding and like got into it a little bit, and I just heard the wrong pop, and I was just like instantly on the kill switch, shut it down, went home, got my trailer, came back, which was really funny story there, a little side story. The guy that I parked at his house had a 6.0 Power Stroke with a license plate 6 leaker on it, and then was making fun of my Harley being not reliable. And I was like,
driving a 6-liter.
I was like, okay, hold on, guy. I was like, you can't be talking shit.
Did you put turbo and injector and studs in that thing yet, or if not, because
it's gonna be happening. Yeah, 6 leaker was his license plate, and when I saw that, I was like, dude, you can't even talk shit about this, because I was like, your license plate, you know what you have.
Exactly.
So, but he's really nice. So I ended up going home, grabbed my trailer, coming back. When I got it home, I blew up one of the cams, literally just right between the lobes.
That's a dual cam machine.
Yeah, twin cam. So right between the lobes, goodbye. Just
those were known for that, weren't they?
Yeah, and I'm sure when you're making like 140 horse, I'm sure like on a machine that like the stock ones of that year would have been like 75 or 80 horse, so you're like almost double. Like double.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well that sucks. And so I had a set of cams put in it because I didn't have time to mess with it. So I had a set of cams put in it, and the dude was like, man, this thing is sweet. He's like, I took it for a ride. He's like, we've had it on multiple cycles on the dyno, heat cycles, making sure everything is good. He's like, ride this thing on the rev limiter all the way to Sturgis. I'll see you there, because he goes out to Sturgis and has a booth out there every year. So I was like, sweet, I'll see you in Sturgis. And I rode it around that night, and I was like, man, my oil temp was like 275 degrees. And I was like,
that's a little warm.
Yeah, so a big bike. So
yeah,
like,
but it's
running
still
like,
a little toasty.
Running like 235, 240 on a hot day was like
normal.
Pretty normal. But I was like, man, 275. I was like, this thing is running really hot. And so I was like, well, whatever. So I call him, and I'm like, man, I'm like 275 on my oil temp. I'm like, you sure? And he's like, swing by the shop before you get on the road. He's like, I got this really sweet oil additive. It'll kill 25
degrees.
25 degrees instantly. And I was like, all right, cool. So I swing in, puts the oil additive in. I'm watching the temp all the way to Sturgis, because we rode to Sturgis. We didn't trailer, because we got to get the I-road patch. And so we rode there, and the closer we got, I was like, man, like the temp is like, now I'm like, I was running like 235, and then I was running like 240 for a while, and then like nothing changed. Now I'm running like 245, and I'm like, it's just this really slow creep.
I'm already not liking where this is going.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I don't like it. So I ended up getting into Sturgis, and it was super hot the one day, and we were on Needles Highway, and I went to grab my clutch in a corner, and there's just no clutch.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, I am 300 degrees on my oil temp right now. I was like, I don't care what oil's in it. That shit's gone.
Yeah.
I was like, that's evaporating at this point. So
it's boiling.
Went into the turn a little quick, and I just like, grabbed the gear the hard way. And then I coasted into a campground. I just like got the bike into neutral.
Well, yeah, because 300 degrees
like,
oil
what the hell
temp
happened? So then I'm on the phone with Rob, and I'm like, hey, my bike is like 300 degrees right now, to the point where like I got clutch fade because like the bike's so hot. I'm like, I don't like this. So he was like, well, he's like, let the bike cool off. He's like, I'm in Rapid City or whatever, so if you want to like come down to my booth, I'll take a look at it. And he's like, I can't figure out what it is. He's like, maybe the tune's messed up in it. He's like, let's try and like duct tape like half or 2/3 of your air cleaner. Try and starve it of air a little bit to like richen it up. And I'm like,
that would make it worse, I would think.
He's like, I don't think that this is a good idea. I was like, how about you just arrange a fucking ride for me to get home, and then you can go through the bike when we get home.
I don't think this is it's not a good idea.
And so he's like, well, let me see what I can do.
Usually when you richen it up, it tends to get hotter.
Right. So I'm like, well, whatever. So I'm like, get on Facebook, and I joined like Sturgis Rally 2020 Facebook group, you know. And I was like, first post in the group, is anybody going back through Wisconsin that has like an open place on a trailer? And like I was surprised, like I got like probably like 30 hits on it. Like,
No kidding.
Like a lot of people were like, hey, like I know a guy that might have a thing. Here's his number. I know, you know. And what there was one couple. They had one bike there, but they had a 2-place trailer enclosed. And he was like, hey, I got a 2-place enclosed. He's like, I actually live in Wisconsin, so he's like, probably be able to get you pretty close.
Awesome.
So I was like, all right, sweet. Where are you from? He's like, Salem. I was like, dude, that's close. I was like, I can have somebody.
This is a half hour away.
I was like, I can have somebody come pick me up straight from your house. I was like, if you got a spot, I'll limp my bike over there, and I'll definitely take it. And so he was like, all right, yeah, no, not a problem. So then he got all mad at me because every time we would stop for fuel, I would jump out of the back seat before he could, and I would swipe my card. So I bought the fuel on the way back, but I was like, he wouldn't take money. So I was like, I gotta give him something. So I was like, I'm paying for your fuel on the way home. Which, like,
absolutely.
you know, that was still in the good old days before diesel was, you know, $6 a gallon or whatever. So it wasn't that much money to get home.
That was nice of you.
I know, it was really nice back then. Drive everywhere for nothing. So yeah, I ended up getting a ride home from them, and we were into like, you know, lacrosse or something, and they were like, well, like, let's just bring you straight home. And I was like, guys, you don't have to go out of your way. I was like, I'll have somebody come pick me up in Salem. They're like, no, like, we insist, like, we're just gonna drop you off. We want to make sure that you and your bike are home and safe.
Wow,
everything is good.
great
and
people.
I was like,
shout out to them, by the way. Shout out to them if
Mike,
you're listening to this.
Mike and Amy were their names.
Heck yeah, thank you, Mike.
So
Amy.
I don't know how to say his last name. It was like Schwinger or something like that. So there's a lot of consonants in the middle of it, though, so it's really confusing. So they dropped me off at home. We pushed the bike right out of the trailer, right into my garage. And then I was back on the horn with Rob, and literally the next day he had someone from his shop come down and get the bike. One O-ring was all it.
It's crazy how that works, isn't it?
They missed an O-ring on the oil pump, so all the way out I was scavenging for oil, and I was just boiling it out of the crankcase. So
well, you learned your lesson, right?
Yeah, and luckily I think he did too, because he ended up doing heads, jugs, pistons, rods, crank. The only thing that stayed was the case.
Ouch.
And my cams, because I just bought brand new.
Obviously, I mean, I think they would probably be okay.
Yeah, he moved the cams over; those are fine.
I think it would be okay.
But yeah, he ended up buying a new motor for that for me. So, and then the next year was, you know, Cash was born, and I was just like, we're not riding this year. Plus, I don't know if I want to get on it, because it seems like when I get on it, I blow it up.
Well, I'm sure there's some listeners out there that would love to have it. Yeah. You know, so if that time comes,
yeah. So if anybody is interested, it's like a 14, I believe, 14 Street Glide, stretch bags, all blacked out, looks super cool.
And I'm sure it's real cheap.
Stupid fast.
Real cheap.
It's a lot of fun. But
hey, we got to wrap this up.
Yeah,
we've been talking for way too long now.
Well, maybe in another dozen episodes I'll have to come back.
Yes, absolutely. We'll have to have you back. This has been great.
Yeah,
I had a blast.
I can't believe how fast it goes.
Yeah, we're I mean, it won't be this long in the episode, but we're an hour 23.
Dang. I feel like I've been here for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's been like, oh yeah, you've been here for 40 minutes, maybe.
That's nuts.
It's going
awesome.
quick.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime, bud. See you later.
Yeah, later.